Shekinah Joe is pretty distraught over her name. Well, I would say, to be, I guess, more blunt, she involved herself in her best friend's internet beef with Sabrina Peterson.
Right.
And so let me just give a little backstory before we jump into how you fit in, okay? So T.I. and Tiny, T.I. gets called out by Sabrina Peterson. She says, T.I. held a gun to my head, and she tags Keisha Lance Bottoms and says, you should not be affiliated with someone, I guess, who acts violently towards women or something like that. I can't remember her post to quote. And she begins to proceed with posting about 38 supposed victims that have been raped or violated by T.I. and Tiny. So what turned what was supposed to be a post to, I guess, shed light on, protecting women, protecting Black women, turned into something more.
Right.
Shekinah Joe, you are pretty close with her, who is Tiny's best friend, chimed in. And I would say it didn't look too good for T.I. and Tiny, because when I heard Shekinah Joe state that Sabrina Peterson, who got this campaign rolling, had in fact recruited girls for T.I. and Tiny. So how could you, I guess, be trying to save victims and you put supposed victims in this situation, is how we got here. Now, Shekinah has since retracted that statement because, as I told her when we spoke, it didn't look too good, because if the allegations were true, best friend comes out, states, oh, Sabrina had sex with them too. Sabrina recruited girls as well.
Right.
So it kind of blew things up. Whereas I think if she would have just allowed it to simmer away, it would have gone away, because technically no victims have actually came forward. This is all from Sabrina's page, Sabrina Peterson. And it's just really coincidental that 38 victims come to you, and there are several blogs that are posting on this. And so I was really suspicious about that. And then, of course, T.I. did post some fake stories that were intentionally sent to her on purpose to disarm her.
Right.
And to kind of let the world know that, please proceed with caution when it comes to these allegations. Now, Willie, Shekinah Joe stated that you told her that she didn't know for sure if that was true. She had never seen Sabrina, I guess, have sex or be intimate with T.I. and Tiny. So she shouldn't have spoke on that because it was hearsay. And she expressed to me that she got the story from you. So how do you know Sabrina Peterson?
Well, Sabrina and I was friends I would say over 15 years.
Wow.
When I moved here, I met Sabrina and...
To Atlanta?
To Atlanta.
Okay.
And later on, I met Shekinah. Me and Shekinah worked together, which Shekinah used to be an assistant at a salon I worked.
Okay.
Downtown, and we became friends. Sabrina and I was already friends. Actually, I worked at her salon in Decatur, and we got pretty close. We spent a lot of time together until we were no longer friends.
Wow. So what happened? I guess what was the initial start of the friendship like? And we're talking about Sabrina now. I'm sorry, because I did ask you about Shekinah. Like, how did you and Sabrina become so close to where she would, I guess, tell you such intimate details about supposed or alleged relations between T.I. and Tiny?
Well, we started off pretty close. We spent a lot of time together, going out eating, to the gym. We basically did everything together. We was together every day for a while. Sabrina's the kind of person, and I always tell people her good is great. Like, but when you get to that bad point, it gets really bad. So we were pretty close.
Could you give us some examples on how her good is good and her bad is really bad?
Well, I mean, Sabrina, she is like, as when we were friends, I can say she did a lot of stuff, good stuff for me.
Okay.
Even, I spent a lot of time in her home. Like, Sabrina's the kind of friend, if you're friends with her, she wants you around all the time. It's never a moment without her. Like,
Okay.
you're constantly involved with her.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm pretty much, sometimes I like my alone time being by myself. Sabrina's the kind of person, she's going to pop up. She might all of a sudden want to go stay at a hotel for the month. And we'll all go. I know for her birthday one year, we stayed at the hotel for like a whole month straight. Went home for like a day, and then she was like, okay, let's go back to the hotel. Like, she's like that. She's fun, very fun. I had a lot of fun with her, I must say, but when it ended.
Now, explain to me some of her bad characteristics, like besides what's going on right now
Her
online.
bad characteristic is bullying and lying.
Okay.
It's her bad characteristic.
Let's fast forward to, because I know you've known her for a very long time. You've been close to her. Let's talk about T.I. pulling a gun on her. When did you first hear of this situation from Sabrina, or did you ever hear about it?
I did.
Okay.
Actually, the day that happened, she called me, like right after that happened. And I can say she's not lying about that. I remember she did tell me that happened. She explained to me that her and the assistant got into a fight and he pulled the gun on her. And during the time after that, I think T.I. had an album come out, and one of the songs she let me hear, she said, was about her. And she did say this. I mean, everybody that know about this years ago, she did mention this years ago. Like, it was, I think at the time it was on M Street, on Marietta Street, because her and Tamika had a townhouse. Sabrina had a townhouse, and Tamika had a townhouse in the same area. It was like next door to each other, if I'm not mistaken. And there was, during that time, we were all spending Sabrina would spend a lot of time with them, and then me and her would spend a lot of time. When never was around them all together. It was a few times I was around them. I can remember being around. Only time I remember being around T.I. and with her, it was during Sabrina's birthday, and Tamika and Sabrina had picked me up from my place downtown. And I remember T.I. came over. It was there was the day of one of our mutual friends was having Sabrina a birthday dinner. This was back when Jermaine Dupri restaurant was open. Mm-hmm. She was having a birthday dinner, and I think they were filming the movie ATL. It's been that long. It's been a long time.
Wow. What was your impression of T.I. and Tiny when you met them?
My impression, I really didn't. Seeing them together, it wasn't in a situation where they were like all close. Of course, he was right there on her. I think I curled her hair that day. We was preparing for Sabrina's birthday dinner that night when our other friend was having a birthday dinner. It's been so long ago, but she was like, Sabrina is like, it was like a brotherly thing with him around her. It wasn't like no relationship type of stuff.
Okay.
I never witnessed the relationship that was like way past me.
Okay. Let's talk about the gun situation now. She calls you, T.I. pulled a gun on my head. I was fighting Tiny's assistant, and this happened. Now, from what I was told, the gun came out because she was beating the assistant to the point where if I guess he would have put hands on her, it would have been an issue. So
Definitely.
And it's kind of a catch-22 situation, whereas how could you be beating someone to the point where no one can get you off of this person? And, you know, what else can they do? And I guess him being a public figure, I guess it would have looked bad if he had jumped in it between two women. And so I guess he did what he thought was the right thing. So it's kind of like two wrongs don't make a right per se. But go ahead.
I don't think he was wrong for, he couldn't put his hands on her. And I think that's in any situation. If something is going on here between us, if we can't stop, nobody can do anything physical. The only thing somebody do is to pull a gun. Both of us is going to pay attention to the gun.
You're right.
You know?
It's like shooting a gun in the air, like, bow, you know.
Right. And I know how Sabrina gets unstoppable. Like, this is the same girl that got into a fight in the church.
The church?
Yeah, she went to school. Like, she done did a lot of stuff. Like,
what happened at the church?
She got into a fight. It was at Reverend May's church. She got into a fight with another person.
At the church, like during service?
During service.
So
prayer.
Instead of listening, they fight.
Yeah. I think Sabrina told me that the girl, how they was having issues, they fought before. Sabrina said that they were praying and she had bowed her head and she looked up at the girl and the girl like bucked her eyes at her. They started fighting in the church.
I'm going to have to call Mace and ask him about that fight.
Yeah.
Look, I want to know. I got to say, there are videos of Sabrina online even threatening Shekinah Joe a few years back.
I don't understand her beef with Shekinah really because it was Sabrina and I was friends and me and Shekinah was friends. I'm working at Sabrina's salon. I can remember times of Sabrina calling me, wanting me to put Shekinah out the salon. And I'm like, no, Shekinah is my friend. She came to see me. You weren't even here. She was watching everything on the camera. She didn't like Shekinah, but after me and her fell out, she started kind of like going around Shekinah. I guess Sabrina is the kind of person, she liked to show you what she can do, in which Shekinah didn't know that. I'm the kind of person, if me and you cool and friends, if you don't fuck with them, I'm not dealing with you either. I'm just like that. Until you and that person square it off, you know? And Sabrina was basically trying to prove a point to me by going around Shekinah, you know?
So Sabrina calls you, T.I. puts a gun to my head. Was she upset?
She was upset during that time. I can remember she was upset. I can remember the day I was at work and she called me and she told me about it. I think it was winter time, if I'm not mistaken. It was cold.
I didn't find any police reports.
Actually, it was whenever Tiny's daughter's birthday.
Okay.
It was during that time because Tiny wasn't there.
Okay.
When this happened. That's why I didn't understand when I heard that she said that she was protecting Tamika from the assistant treating her like a slave. And I'm like, Tamika wasn't even around during that time.
So she calls you. She's upset. Sabrina, of course. T.I. put a gun to my head. How long? Because obviously there were still friends after that because Tiny posted a video of Sabrina having her sons call T.I. That's my uncle. That's Uncle T.I. And this was a recent video. So someone holds a gun to your head and now you're online screaming about it. What, 15 years later? And
that was actually, I think that was been like 13 years ago.
Okay.
Whenever it was right after he got the gun charge.
Okay. Did he ever like apologize to her?
I think she told me she told me later that he was trying to apologize to her, but she wouldn't accept his apology.
But she was still around the family. So how?
Yeah, she was coming. I think she was like dealing with Tamika during the time and not dealing with him. However, and then when she started trying to go to their home, that's when she had to interact with him.
Okay. I mean, it throws me off that if someone did hold a gun to your head and it was that tragic. Why would you allow your sons to hug all over him?
I don't understand that either. The son came along over the years, so this had already happened. So you have a whole son, you introduce your son to somebody that put a gun in your head and calls him uncle. That's weird to everybody. That's something nobody understands.
Let's talk about Shekinah, because Shekinah was visibly upset. She went live. The first live she did was hilarious. She was just like, why you ain't tell?
Right.
Since you telling everything, why you ain't tell that you got girls for him? Why you ain't tell them that you slept with him? You know what I'm saying? Or you got a crush on Tamika, which is Tiny. And then she came back visibly upset, retracting everything that she had said about Sabrina recruiting girls for T.I. and Tiny. Did Sabrina ever tell you about her having any sort of like intimate relations with T.I. and Tiny over the years?
She would mention about being involved with them, but she never went into details with me about it. The stuff that go on. Like, sometimes she would call me, like, what's that girl name? Hair you did? You got her number? I'm like, yeah. Call her. Let me get her number or call her for me. Like, I would call people. That's what came up when I said to Shekinah, I was like, how's she gonna say that about them? And she used to get girls. Like, I told Shekinah that. At the same time, I understand Shekinah was trying to save her friend.
It didn't help. it didn't help when she came out and confirmed that. It was like, wait a minute, what you doing?
Yeah.
It's just surprising to me that a man holds a gun to your head 13 years ago and you tell your friends that you are having relations with this man, like having sex.
Well, I think that was before. I think all the sex stuff happened before the gun.
Okay.
Because I don't think I'm about to believe that she went back and tried to lay up with them after the gun situation.
Okay.
I can understand, okay, maybe over the years you're forgiving or whatever. But I just don't see her going back.
Okay.
With the sexual thing.
It's all so much. So Sabrina, back to, I guess on Sabrina. What do you think about everything that she's doing now? She posted about T.I. holding a gun to her head. She tagged Keisha Lance Bottoms. And I'm like, what does Keisha have to do with this?
Keisha Lance Bottom wasn't even in office, didn't know anything about the situation.
Yeah.
Nobody really knew about the situation other than the people that was around her at that time. Because one of our other mutual friends that called me the other day, and she was telling me about it, and she was like, well, Willie, you know that she's not lying about the shit that happened. I said, I know she's not lying about it, but why come out 13 years later with the story? And then you done been all back around. You done been around to these people, baby shower, when their daughter came along. All that was after the fact. You've been trying to spend the night at these people's house, like, and just being around them. What's all that for?
Why do you think she did it? Just in your personal opinion.
I feel that, like I said, Sabrina is the kind of person that when you allow her to do something and come back around, she's going to come around. She is the person, she see what all she can get away with. And I think that with Tamika knowing about her and the voodoo stuff, I think she was kind of like keeping her close. You know when they say keeping your enemies close?
Voodoo?
Yeah.
What you mean voodoo?
She practiced witchcraft.
How you know that? When you seen her like?
I know she did. Like, she's heavily involved in that.
You seen her practicing spells and stuff before?
She have all kind of magical potions.
What? Explain like a situation like where she would, I guess, create a spell.
Every situation. There's money spells. There's love spells. There's a lot of different spells that she's heavily involved with.
That didn't worry you?
I think that fear a lot of people. It bothered me after the fact that we wasn't friends, but I was to the point, okay, like, whatever you're going to do, you can go ahead and do it. I ain't dealing with you no more.
Did she put a spell on T.I. and Tiny?
I'm sure she did. I can remember during the time, but she told me after that happened with the gun situation, She said that she was going to handle him in her own way. And right after that, he got arrested. He got a gun charge in L.A.
Well, we need to cut off the cameras and leave Sabrina alone. But no, I'm playing. I ain't scared of no witchcraft or nothing like that. But that is different. Because most people, I guess, that practice that don't typically tell you that's what they do.
She practices it. She buy voodoo dolls. She do a lot of stuff. And I can, being around her, seeing her, the stuff that she do, I was basically trying to protect myself in seeing what she do, because somebody like her, when you watch people hurt other people, you have to understand that after all that, your time is coming. When they can't find nobody else to hurt, then your time is coming. And that's actually where I sat there. I watched so many people go through and get hurt by her. And it's like, I started basically praying like, Lord, hurry up and let this happen so I can get away from her. And when we fell out, I did not go back. That was it. Like, even to one of her other friends, come to find out that me and her were related. She was sitting in my chair. Sabrina was watching me do her hair in the chair. Sabrina called me on the phone and told me to cut a piece of her hair for her. I was like, no, I cannot do that. To this very day.
Why would she want to cut her hair? What was she going to do?
She wanted to do a spell on her. Something happened during that time with them. They stopped dealing with each other. And, oh my God, I can go on and on about that.
Please do.
And she asked me to cut a piece of her hair. I told her right there in my chair, I said, do you know what she just asked me? She asked me to cut a piece of your hair. She was like, are you serious? I was like, yes. I told her, no, I can't do that. And then even to another situation with that voodoo stuff, one of our other mutual friends' mom was opening up a restaurant, and she were beefing with the neighbor, had a clothing boutique. However, the clothing boutique and the restaurant was in the same area. I think she overheard one of her boyfriends talking to our friend's mom, and she told me she heard him speaking about her. So she she was taking a black egg to drop in front of the boutique store. She dropped the egg by mistake in the door of my friend's mom's restaurant, and her restaurant never opened. She had put a lot of money in it. It never opened.
Well, she don't need my address there. Like, Jesus. Okay. What do you think about, coincidentally, 38 victims coming to her to tell the same story about T.I. and Tiny? And I'm like, they didn't go to no other blogs now.
First of all, when I seen two of the victims, I said, these victims wouldn't have never been around. These are girls Sabrina wouldn't have never picked. One girl had a whole hairline full of glue. The other girl was a mess. And then they said they got paid $3,000. You wouldn't have never got $3,000 from Sabrina. Because first of all, Sabrina is very cheap. She tried to get all she could get for nothing. And she ain't paying you no $3,000 for nothing. She's not even going to allow nobody else to pay you $3,000. Not these girls I watched.
Wow. Okay. What do you want? Because, I mean, this is definitely like some really different information, because voodoo, and then, Lord knows why she's choosing to tell her story in the manner in which she's telling it. Because I told her, like, when I spoke to her, I was like, it really defeats the purpose. Like, are you standing up for yourself? How did all these random 38 victims come to you with this story? You're posting their stories to your story, and then they're disappearing, and then you're deleting. And I'm like, based on your character, even if victims came to you to express or to tell their story, the way you're going about it really discredits the entire situation because, of just the way you're handling it. No one's going to take them serious if there are real victims.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they're real victims. I think if any of those girls was around during that time, them girls already know what it was at that time. And and how that the victims come to Sabrina instead of going to the police.
Yeah, that was my thinking. And I know a lot of people were tagging me saying, you know, Tasha, you told us about this, you know, 2 years ago. And I'm like, I didn't tell y'all about no raping. I didn't tell y'all about
it was no raping.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
sure
I mean, it's
I know girls that been around that way back then, and it was no raping.
Okay.
Nobody, I never heard nobody was raped. They never had a reputation of raping, even to reading some of the girls, listening to some of the girl comments and reading the stuff, and even they saying about Tamika with this aggressive personality. Tamika never have aggressive personality.
Yeah, that I will have to vouch for. Her personality is not aggressive at all. So
no.
Wow. So we're gonna wrap up. Like, what do you want the public to know about Sabrina?
I want the public to know that she's a liar, and she always attack new people. She always want to be friend with new people. She always want to attach herself to people that have something going on, like celebrities or whatever, just to start lies. And she likes to get different generations to carry the lies on that she creates.
Thank you, Willie, for coming to attest to her character. I mean, because it was very questionable when she was posting the 38 random victims, and I'm still waiting on one to actually show their face. That's when it gets real. When people are...
There's not going to be one. There's never a victim to show their face, because all those girls that was doing that around that time, they know what they were going to do. Like I told you before, during those hours, girls drinking and drugs, when they go in with celebrities, they already know what they're going for.
Thank you. Let's put the wine down for a second, because at times like this, we need to take a shot of the olive leaf extract, because the olive leaf boosts our immune system and it has been known to reverse high blood pressure, lupus, diabetes, and certain cancers. Check them out at myoliveleaf.biz to learn more and to order, or simply click the link below in the description box. Now back to the wine. AdamandEve.com. I'm talking toys, bondage, lingerie, and so much more. Plus, they have 24/7 customer service, so you can order at 3 a.m. if you ain't coming, if you get me, okay? And if something isn't working out, you can send it back within 90 days, no hassle. And if that's not enough, you can also take pleasure in knowing that 20% of their profits goes to help fight the spread of HIV around the world. So go on ahead and log on to AdamandEve.com. Use the code TASHAK for 50% off one item plus free shipping in the US and Canada. Some exclusions apply now, but hurry up and visit AdamandEve.com so they can make you come.
See, I enjoy oral sex, but to be honest, some of my experiences have been not pleasing due to lack of proper vaginal hygiene. I went down on this chick once, and the yoni was so good and fresh. It took me on like a whole nother level of just pleasure. So at that moment, I had to stop and ask, what are you using? And she told me, Embrace Pangea Feminine Wash.
We all know that a fresh yoni brings on a whole new level of confidence, so visit EmbracePangea.com, and of course, I got my winos covered for a discount, so use the coupon code TASHAK for 10% off your first order. Megan Sparks, this is your first interview ever.
Mm-hmm.
This is like your first time telling your story too. Mm-hmm. Sabrina Peterson, have you seen what's been going on online?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about her, I guess, blasting T.I. for putting a gun to her head, and now all of a sudden T.I. and Tiny are raping women? What was your first impression when you saw Sabrina posting about that?
Well, somebody had sent the Shade Room post, like whatever it was that they reposted the video.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just was like, I'm not really surprised by anything that she does.
Why not?
Because it's just always, it was just like, okay, this is the new thing. This is another one of her shows. That's all I thought.
So she puts on for people?
Yeah.
How did you two meet?
I I met her at her salon in like, I think 2009, 10.
Wow.
Maybe it was 2010, something like that. I had went to the shop and got my hair done. And I think she like followed up the next day on social media and asked how did I like enjoy my service. And I told her like something was messed up about my hair. I can't remember what it was, but she invited me to come back to the salon and said that she was going to have somebody redo my hair that specialized in the style that I was getting. So that's really how we first met. I went back up there and then she came down, introduced herself. We started talking. And I think that was that.
So unfortunately, I guess your friendship progresses. How long into the friendship before and I don't like to call it an incident, before she assaulted you?
Like 3 years, 2-3 years.
Tell me about that day. Like, how did it, not to say that nobody deserves to be cut up, okay? But if you don't mind, just going through like what led up to the event.
So Sabrina, at first she was fighting her case. I believe she had her son after things were like finalized or whatever.
Is the custody case, I take it?
No, it was like, it was a drug charge or whatever it was that she had gotten. So I believe she had some type of deal that was worked out with the prosecutor, and her baby dad went to prison and she didn't. She got probation. Okay. And then she was still like on a reporting type of probation. Her son was maybe like 5 months, but she was going through a lot of things financially, and you know, she had like lost her shop and it was just a mess. Like, she had a whole bunch of stuff going on as far as what she was explaining to me. So it was more so like I'm in distress over here. I have this baby. I'm barely surviving, you know, that type of deal. So when I came into town, and I always had a place in Atlanta at the time, but when I would come into town, I would just stay at her house sometimes, you know, just hang out. But when I was over there specifically around that time, it's because I just was trying to, you know, help her and comfort her throughout what she was going through. Like, it was a lot of shit going on at the house. So I was there for, I want to say like 2 weeks before it happened. And the day that it did happen, we had went to Children's Hospital with her son. He was sick. We got back to her house and we were in the car. I told her that I was going to go to the nail shop. I was going to drive her car to the nail shop. So she got out of the car. I think she asked me which nail shop I was going to. I told her I was going to put it in GPS. It was one up the street from her house off of Glenwood. And when I had got over to the nail shop, it was closed. So I'm not from Atlanta. I use the GPS for everything. So I put in another nail shop that was open, and it took me to Atlantic Station. So I drove to Atlantic Station, got my pedicure. I left from there, went to Yard House. When I got to Yard House, I texted her. And I asked her, you know, did she want something to eat? Again, she didn't like have food and stuff at her house. So I was going to get her whatever I was getting to go or whatever she wanted to get to go and bring it over there. So when I texted her, that's when she had texted something back. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like, how the fuck did you get all the way to Atlantic Station? And I don't know, it was something else. It was like cuss words. I don't remember exactly what it said. So I looked over at the text, and we had never been in any type of argument or loud confrontation, none of that. So when I looked at the text, I'm like, I wasn't about to respond because I'm not going to argue with you in a text message. So I looked over at the text. I didn't text her back. So I'm like, okay, I'm just about to go take this girl her car, get my food. So she ended up calling on three-way with somebody. And she was like, you know, we were just trying to figure out how the fuck you got all the way to Atlantic Station in my car. You said you was going up the street, whatever. My car better have gas in it. This is what she said. So I just hung up. So I drove back to her house. And when I pulled up in the driveway, I put the car in park and I opened up the driver door. And then I had I was turned this way to lean into the back seat to grab my purse. So the door was already open. By the time I heard like footsteps and yelling, she was already like right here at the door. And I looked up and she was just already swinging. So at this point, I'm thinking I'm in a fight, you know, but I'm like, okay, I don't know why we're fighting, but that's cool, I guess. But you're going to let me out this car. So I ended up getting cut in my leg because when I turned towards her to try to like push her back and like kick her back so I can stand up and get out the car, she had razor blades or a razor blade in between her hands. I don't know exactly where it was because I couldn't visibly see it until she finally backed up. But she was like, you know, she was swinging. So I'm swinging back. And as I'm swinging back, I'm getting cut up. But I didn't know. So.
How did you like see her holding a knife or?
No, she didn't have a knife. It was a razor blade.
Like, did she have it between her fingers so you couldn't?
Yeah, you couldn't see it. When she was swinging, it just looked like she just was swinging her fist. That's why I thought that I was in a fight. If I seen a razor blade, I would have backed up, you know, or attempted to back up. Yeah. But I'm just thinking this girl's at the car and she's swinging. So swing back, you know, or try to get her back so that I can get up. But it just didn't happen like that because she came out swinging and she had the blades already in her hand, or a blade, whatever it was razor blade. So she was already swinging, and then blood had just started gushing, like squirting out. And I believe that was from this cut that's in my middle finger. It I don't know if it hit her or me or whatever, but she screamed. I was like, "Oh my God, you cut."
Oh.
So I'm like, I didn't know where it was coming from. So she stopped and ran into the house and she grabbed her baby. And at this point, obviously, I'm out of the car. I stand up and get out the car and I'm standing in the grass. How that house was set up, the driveway is like right next to the back door. So she ran in, she got her baby, and she came out with him, like holding him like a shield almost. And she jumped into the... She was
holding her own baby as a shield.
Yeah. She went in the house, picked him up, and she came out of the house kind of like this, you know? Like holding him. So she got in the car, and she threw him in the passenger seat, and she pulled off like maximum speed. I don't know. She was gone. So it was like a road that comes around the back of her house and goes around to the front. So she just like put the car in reverse and hurry up and sped off. She was yelling stuff as she was pulling off. I don't know what she was saying. I don't remember. And then she was gone. So at this point, I knew I was cut like up here. I didn't see my leg at that time. I don't know. I don't remember. I think I was in shock or something. And then I finally looked down. I had on a pink like sweatsuit, and the blood from my leg had started to, I guess, absorb in the pants. So it was like rising up. Like my pants was covered in blood. My shirt was covered in blood. And that's when I finally seen my leg. So I don't know. I don't remember like the dimensions, but the cut is big and it was deep. So when I looked down, you could just like see white meat or whatever, blood. Like it was gruesome. So the ambulance came. Oh, I got on the phone with the ambulance, called 911. Because at this point, I'm just scared as hell. Like I'm thinking I'm about to die back here. You know, I don't know. I just didn't know what was going on. So the ambulance came and then they took me. They took me to, I think I went to Grady. Yeah. But when they pulled up, they already knew whose house it was. It's like the police wasn't surprised either.
Really? Mm-hmm. What gave you like...
They gave me her name. I mean, I already knew her name, obviously, but they were like, did Sabrina do this to you? It was weird. Yep.
Wow. I mean, so her reasoning was you didn't bring her car back in time.
I guess so.
You guys
That's
had
a good
no
question.
prior... Hold on. We good? Okay. You guys had no prior, I guess, run-ins before. Everything was all good between you and her. Mm-hmm. So what happened after? Like, okay, you're at Grady. Of course, you're treated. You're still here, thank God. Mm-hmm. What happened to Sabrina?
What you mean, that day?
Yeah, like did the police like pick her up? Or
I don't know.
her?
She was on the run for a minute. I don't know where she went. I don't know. I don't know where she went. Yeah, I don't know where she was until she eventually turned herself in. Yeah.
Did she ever... So the way she's acting online, you're not surprised? Mm-mm. Okay. Did she ever talk to you about her relationship with T.I. and Tiny? Mm-hmm. What did she say to you?
Well, she didn't talk too much about Tiny's husband. She didn't talk too much about him. Besides the whole story with the them not getting along over whatever had happened like a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But as far as her and Tiny's relationship, she told me that was her best friend. She said they had been friends since they were kids. They grew up together. And that's just...
I don't think that's true, though.
No, it's not. I just found that out like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what she told me. She told me that was her best friend. And then, yeah, they grew up together and it was just like, whatever. But she talked about them a lot.
Do you believe any of the stories that she's been posting concerning girls that were, I guess, raped by T.I. and Tiny, supposedly? Drugged and raped?
Do I believe her story or
the stories that she's been posting? So 38 women came only to her. Mm-hmm. No other bloggers, no police officers, mm-hmm. no police reports. And she posted each and every one of these victim stories to her story. I believe a couple of them, some bloggers caught because people were just sending her stories for clout. Mm-hmm. And they turned out to be fake. And of course, T.I. got a hold of those and posted them. Do you believe anything that she's, I guess, saying right now on behalf of these victims? Do you believe that victims actually contacted her and have, I guess, confided in her about them being raped and drugged by T.I. and Tiny?
No. I think that she is the 38 victims.
You're like the fourth person that said that.
Really?
Yeah. Why do you think she's the 38 victims?
I mean, if she's the same, if she's moving the same that she did back then, which it appears that she is the 38 victims. You couldn't tell me that it's not her and more phones, more accounts, whoever she, has working with her to help her to create this next show. Sabrina is one big show that unfortunately some people don't know any better and take serious. But the people that know her or already, kind of know what time it is, it's just like, oh my God, girl, you got to stop one day. Mm. Yeah.
Have you spoken to Sabrina since she assaulted you?
Actually, she called.
She called you? When?
Mm-hmm. Last week.
When this all started? Mm-hmm. Before?
I don't remember what day their situation started.
Okay.
But she called me a week ago. It was last Wednesday.
So this was after she had went public.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if it was. Yeah. I didn't know if it was the same day. I knew it was right within the same, time frame.
What did she say?
And anyway, I had leaned over, just put it on speakerphone, and I'm rinsing off my face, and I hear her like, "Hello." So I stop. I'm like, she's like, "Hey, it's Sabrina." she was like whispering. And she was like, hey, I seen something where you said that, you have some nerve damage, some severe nerve damage. And I know if you do that, it's because of what I did to you. And I just, I want you to know that I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Like, is there some type of specialist that I can send you to, a doc, somebody? How can I fix this?
Was this the first time, like, you had spoken to her since that?
Yeah.
Since she assaulted you? Mm-hmm. How many years ago?
That was 8 years, 8 years ago. So I'm just like, but I'm just looking at the phone like.
What was your reaction? Like, bitch, I know you just didn't call. That would have been like my reaction, So, I mean, Sabrina is crazy enough to talk to herself. So I was just letting her talk for a minute. Mm-hmm. And she got out all of that. Is there any specialists, anybody? And like, do you have any scars? Because like, I can, pay for you to get like, whatever, reconstructive to fix like a cosmetic surgery, something. I don't know what word she used. And I said, what are you going to use to pay for it? And she was just like, what do you mean money? I said, let me tell you something. You listening? Bitch, don't you ever in your life call my phone again. No, I mean, I can understand that, if you need somebody, if you ever need to vent and you need to just go crazy or you need somebody to talk to, you can always call me. This is my number. So she wanted you to talk to her and vent to her.
About what she did.
After she cut you up.
No, she wanted me to call and vent if I ever need to vent about it.
Like after she assaulted you and cut you up.
Mm-hmm. If I want to talk about it, just to call her and we can reminisce about it. I don't know. I said you have to be just as sick and twisted as you to even understand where you're coming from with this shit. Like, what are you talking about? Bitch, don't call my phone.
So T.I. holds a gun to her head when she's beating like the living shit out of Tiny's assistant. She screams online, oh my God, T.I. held a gun to my head. He does this to women. He, abuses women and Keisha Lance Bottoms. You need to, be careful. You don't need to have anybody around you like that. But she cuts you up, but gets upset over someone holding a gun to her head. Like, how do you make that make sense?
She ain't upset about the gun is the least. I can guarantee you, she's not worried.
Why do you
about
say
it.
that?
She's not worried about a gun. You wouldn't have been. By the time I met her, that had already been happened. This situation that she's talking about, however it happened, if it even went the way she's saying that it happened, it's like, who's going to even believe your story? Like, I told you I met her in like 2009, 10, around that time. Mm-hmm. That had already happened. So now we're in 2021. You was telling me, this was your family. Their kids are your nieces and nephews. This is your best friend, all this. You never made it seem like he was a threat. You were scared of him. You were worried. You were a victim, And not to say that all victims always, tell their whole story to everybody that they run into, but that was not the case. You're not worried about a gun being put upside your head for any reason. You're not going through it. You're not victimized. You don't sympathize with anybody that even may have been a victim. If those stories were true, you wouldn't be the one. Why would anybody reach out to you? Like, who are you for people to just call on? I mean, what reason would people say, let me skip past all these other ways that I can do this? Let me reach out to her. For what reason? Like, what can you do? So, even if it was real victims with that situation, which you can't get me to believe that it is. It's even girls that have inboxed me since the situation started and told me that they sent her something And she posted it within seconds. And they're like, dang, that was fast. So how are you reading through all these stories?
So what do you think she's hoping to gain out of this?
I don't know. I don't know the reasoning for why she's doing what she's doing. I don't know why she did that to them, what her motive is. I don't know why she called me, what her plan is, what part of her storyline or strategy that, where that ties in. But I know that it was premeditated. She thought about all this before she started it and before she did it. You had no other reason to call me after 8 years. I mean, any nerve damage that I have is permanent now.
Do you have any nerve damage?
Yeah. Yes. This left leg is messed up.
Wow. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Me too.
What do you want the world to know about Sabrina Peterson?
She's demonic and weird. That's pretty much the only way I know how to describe her. She's dangerous, so.
Well, thank you, Megan. I appreciate you telling your story to us, because you've never spoke about this, and I don't think you probably ever really had a reason until now.
Right.
And so I appreciate you, because I can't imagine going through that. Like I do want to point out that you were 19 years old at the time.
20.
20? Mm-hmm. And she was 34.
Yep. She had to be 34. Yeah, I was 20, she was 34.
And so she cuts up with a razor blade a 20-year-old girl for just taking her car to Atlantic Station. Mm-hmm. I think that's all I need to know. Thank you.